Hey everyone, this is Erin with Five Parks Yoga. Welcome to Yoga for Beginners. So glad that you are joining me for this class. Whether you are brand new to yoga and have never ever tried it, or you know a little bit and you're looking for a lot of instruction and explanation, this is the class for you. So if you like this class, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have lots to offer on my channel, including tutorials for beginners. So if you want more explanation about something specific, be sure that you check out my tutorials. So we're going to begin today in a seated position, and hopefully at the beginning of every class you ever practice, you will start with breathing. So we're going to do that today, and breath is fundamental and foundational in yoga. Sometimes we might find it's challenging. Breathing is a practice. You breathe all day, every day, but this might be the first time you've ever tried to practice breathing with intention and focus. So I'm going to guide you through that, and then we will continue with a full spinal warm-up. So come into a comfortable seated position, whether that's cross-legged. You can prop yourself up on a blanket, a block, or a pillow, or you can sit on your shins. Any position that you find where you can keep your spine upright. So no slouching, okay? So sit up nice and tall, stack your head over your shoulders over your hips. Rest your hands either on your legs or in your lap in a comfortable position. Let's take a giant shoulder roll. So go ahead and shrug your shoulders up by your ears and then relax them down towards your mat. So you want a nice long neck. If you're comfortable and want to, go ahead and close your eyes. I'm going to guide you through some breathing, or you can keep your eyes open and just find a nice soft gaze. So let's start with a cleansing breath. So first, breathe in through your nose. Nice big breath. Hold it at the top for as long as you're comfortable with. And then when you're ready, you'll release it through your mouth. So nice long, slow exhale. Close your lips and begin to breathe in and out through your nose. So with each inhale and each exhale, work in the direction of lengthening your inhale and your exhale and smoothing each breath out and evening them out. Take 5 more breaths here. In and out through your nose. Just take this opportunity to kind of settle into your space. Really arrive for this class. And just notice how your intentional breathing helps to settle you, calm you, and focus you for your practice. One more breath. If your eyes are closed, go ahead and open them. Continue to breathe in and out through your nose. And on your next inhale, lengthen once again through the back of your neck, reaching the crown of your head up toward the ceiling. And then we're gonna warm up the spine in all directions, starting with some neck rolls. So go ahead and release your ear toward your shoulder and go around chin to chest, ear to opposite shoulder. Now you can take full neck rolls going in a full circle, or you can just rock your head side to side if you're feeling tightness or tension in your neck and shoulders. So either one, continue to breathe. Okay, now if you're going around in full circles, just pause when your chin comes to your chest and reverse your circle. And then we'll meet back at center with a nice neutral spine. We're gonna continue to warm up the spine with some side bends. So bring your arms up overhead, reach all the way actively up toward the ceiling, and then come off to your left for a side bend. Take your hand, maybe your forearm, maybe your elbow, toward the floor. Reach up and across with your right arm. Look up toward the ceiling if that feels okay on your neck, or look down towards your hand. Come back to center and we'll switch sides. So side bending toward the right, reach up and across with your left arm. Try to keep your shoulder directly in line with your hip. So don't sacrifice your alignment to reach further, okay? So the goal is not to touch the floor, it's to open your side. And then come all the way back up to center. And we're going to continue to warm up the spine with a twist. So you're gonna take your right hand, take it across your body to your left knee, and then take your left hand out behind. So lengthen up through the crown of your head. So again, your spine is nice and long. And then you can start to twist looking out over your back shoulder. Come back to center. Once again, reach your arms up and then switch sides. So take your left hand to your right knee, your right hand out behind. You can kind of use it as a kickstand. You're twisting from the base of your spine up through the crown of your head. So again, the twist, you want to keep the alignment even if you're not going very far or very deep, versus hunching or rounding to look further behind you. All right, so nice and upright. All right, come back to center. Last time, reach your arms up overhead and then release your hands down by your side. So we're gonna open the chest now. You have two options. So you can take your hands behind you and tent your fingers, and then just start to lift your chest up toward the ceiling. Maybe look up, draw your shoulders back and down. Or if you want to take it a little bit further, you have the option of taking your hands behind your back, interlacing your fingers, pressing your palms together, pressing your fists down toward the floor, and lifting your chest. So it's just a little bit more of an opening for your shoulders, just depending on how tight your chest is today. Okay, and then we're gonna bend at the hips, take a little forward fold here. So again, two options. If you're coming from this position, you can take your hands out in front of you and just start to walk them forward. Maybe you don't go very far, that's totally fine, but just start to feel the stretch in your hips. If you're in your chest expansion, you can continue to hold that and just hinge from your hips here and start to lift your arms up and over the back of your head. Again, it might not be very far, so just pick the option that works best for you, where you feel a stretch but no pain. And then wherever you are, release. We're gonna continue to warm up the spine with some cats and cows. So go ahead and make your way to a tabletop position. So in tabletop position, you want your shoulders directly over your wrists and your hips directly over your knees, and a nice flat back. So you should have one long line from the crown of your head back through your tailbone. Tighten up your core so that you're not sagging, okay? And then really push through your hands so you have a nice strong upper back. For cats and cows, we're gonna move back and forth between these two positions. So starting with cow pose, you're gonna drop your belly down, lift your tailbone, and lift the crown of your head so you feel a stretch through the front of your body. And then for cat pose, you're gonna round your spine. So lift your shoulder blades up, start to look toward your belly button, round your spine, feel a nice stretch in your upper back and neck. All right, and like I said before, we're gonna start to move back and forth between the two poses. So take a deep breath in, come into cow where we just were. So dropping your belly, And then round your spine to cat. Try to move back and forth with your breath. So breathe into cow, breathe out, round into cat. Just a couple more rounds. Last cow and last cat, wherever you are. And then meet me back in tabletop position where we began. So nice flat back, long neck. And then we're gonna take one more warm up for the spine. This posture movement is called thread the needle. So you're gonna start by keeping your right hand on the floor, lift your left arm up, maybe look up towards your hand, and then you're gonna slide your left arm behind your right. You're gonna come onto the outside of your left shoulder and your left ear. So you have a little twist in your spine, your hips stay high, and your head rests on the floor. So you don't have any tension in your neck here. Notice the stretch in the back of your left shoulder. And let's unwind from the twist. So take a deep breath in and then lift your left arm all the way back up to the ceiling and release. Let's do that on the other side. So left hand stays on the floor. Lift your right arm up, maybe look up towards your fingertips. Again, if that's hard on your neck, just keep your gaze down and then slide your right arm behind your left. Come on to the outer edge of your right shoulder and your right ear. Keep your hips high. Feel the stretch in the back of your right shoulder. Feel the little twist in your spine. Again, your head is heavy on the floor. Okay, no tension in your neck. And unwind from your twist. So place your weight into your left hand, lift your right arm up, and release your right arm back into tabletop position. The next posture we're gonna take is a hip stretch. So we're gonna take extended child's pose. For this posture, take your knees toward the outer edges of your mat and then bring your toes together to touch. Take your hips all the way back to your heels and walk your hands forward. Eventually, you're gonna rest your forehead down. If your posture doesn't look like that, that's absolutely fine. You have the option of rolling up a blanket and placing it between your calf and your thigh if you need more support, if your hips are really tight, okay? And if you can't walk your hands all the way forward, that's fine too. Just go as far as you can. And again, I will emphasize this throughout class, I want you to feel sensation. I want you to feel a stretch. But anytime you feel pain, back out of the depth of the posture. So no pain, just sensation and stretch. And it might be a little uncomfortable, that's fine. Just listen to your body and continue to focus on your breath. So one more breath in this child's pose, in and out through your nose. And then walk your hands all the way back up. Cross over your ankles and then come back to seated. All right, we're gonna continue to stretch out the hips in a posture called butterfly pose. So bring the soles of your feet together. Bring your hands around your ankles. Start to draw your heels into the comfortable edge of your stretch. Sit up tall, and then you have the option of hinging forward, bringing your elbows to your knees. And for this posture, in this moment, try to keep your spine long. So instead of rounding so that your forehead comes toward your toes, stay nice and lengthened. So we're really focusing on that stretch in the hips. Take one more breath here in butterfly pose. And release from your fold if you're folded forward. And we're gonna take one more seated stretch before we come onto our feet. So extend your legs straight out in front of you. try to have your toes and your knees pointing up toward the ceiling and your quadriceps, the tops of your legs, engaged, okay? So that your legs are active. Sit up tall again. So nice long spine, shoulder, head, shoulder, hips, all in one line. And then from this position, this might feel like enough here, or you can begin to walk your hands forward toward the front of your mat or towards your feet. Feel the stretch in the backs of your legs. Feel the stretch in your hips and your low back. Take one more breath. Seated forward fold. Okay, release from your fold. And then the next posture we're going to come into is called downward facing dog. It is a very standard posture in yoga. It does not mean it's necessarily easy, but you're going to find downward dog in probably most of the yoga classes that you practice. Not all. So cross over your shins, cross over your ankles, and then place your feet at hip distance apart. Tuck all 10 toes under. Place your hands at shoulder distance apart. Spread your fingers nice and wide, press into the palms of your hands, and then you're gonna lift your hips up toward the ceiling, and you're gonna release your heels down toward the floor. It's okay if they don't touch, it's okay if your legs aren't straight. We're just working in that direction. So as you look back toward your feet, make sure that your heels are not visible. So they're just disappearing behind your toes. So you don't want them coming in so that your toes stick out, or vice versa, so that you're pigeon-toed, okay? Just want them straight behind your toes. And then take a little peek up toward your hands. Notice your wrist creases parallel with the front of your mat. And once again, that your fingers are spread wide and that you're pressing each finger pad into your mat. So really active with your hands. And then just another breath here. Check in with your neck. So your head should be nice and heavy, and there should be no tension in your neck. You should be able to nod it, shake it out. So it's really nice to lengthen your spine. And of course, as you hold the pose, you're building strength in your arms, flexibility in your legs. Now from here, go ahead and walk your feet toward your hands. You can bend your legs a lot, take as many steps as you need. And then with bent legs, rest your torso on your thighs. Rest your hands down toward your mat. If you have blocks, you can rest your hands on blocks, or you can take opposite hand to opposite elbow and dangle here. So this posture is called ragdoll posture. So you're focusing on the weight of your torso, the weight of your head, creating a little more length in your spine. Option here to sway side to side. You can start to bend and straighten one leg at a time. So release your hands. If you're clasping your elbows, release your hands to the floor. And then let's all bring our feet to touch. So take your big toes to touch. Leave a little bit of space between your heels. And then very slowly, you're gonna come up to a standing position, rounding your spine, rolling as you come. So nice and slow, no head rush. All right, we made it to our feet. We're gonna do some standing postures and some balancing postures here. So the first, another very fundamental yoga pose that you're gonna find in most all of your classes is called mountain pose. And it is a very strong, grounded, sturdy pose. So you wanna look down, spread your toes so that you can see a little bit of mat between each toe. And then just like we did in our seated forward fold, engage your legs. So nice, strong legs. Take your shoulders again over your hips, and then take both hands, place them palms face forward down by your side. Okay, so active hands, it's not just standing. Okay, lift through the crown of your head. And just like we did at the beginning of class, let's take a nice big shoulder roll. So shrug your shoulders up by your ears, roll them back and down. And feel the length in your spine and your neck. Take one more breath here. Okay, so we're gonna move from mountain pose to tall mountain pose. So you keep your torso just as it is, simply lift your arms up overhead. In tall mountain pose, you want your arms or your hands at shoulder distance apart, stacked right over your shoulders, and your pinky fingers are slightly spiraling in. So this broadens your upper back. Strong legs again. And then as you breathe out, go ahead and take a nice big cactus of your arms. So draw your elbows down, lift your chest, maybe lift your gaze if you feel balanced. And return to tall mountain. So reach your arms up overhead. And we're gonna take a posture called side moon. So in side moon pose, take your right hand, slide it down your right leg, and then lean to the right as you stretch through your right side. We're gonna hold it for another breath. So bring your awareness to your belly. So nice and tight core here. Back to center. Reach both arms up overhead and switch sides. So slide your left arm down your left leg, reach up and across with your right arm. Really engage through your core to keep you lifted. And come back to center, reach both arms up. And one more time, cactus your arms. So draw your elbows down, open your chest, lift your gaze. All right, reach your arms up. And then we're gonna come into standing forward fold. So this is different than ragdoll. You can take your hands through heart center and hinge at your hips, or you can reach your arms off to the side, come all the way down. Okay, so the focus now in this posture is lengthening the backs of your legs, your hamstrings. And it's okay if your legs are not straight at this point. You can have them as bent as you need. Just start to work in that direction. Finding length in your hamstrings as you hold the pose for another breath. It's called standing forward fold. Breathe in and out. All right, so plant your hands on your mat. And go ahead and step your feet back to a high plank position. So high plank is a position that helps strengthen your entire core. The modification for this posture is to take your knees to the floor. So in this posture, you still want a nice long spine, an engaged core. Oh God. My resident iguana friend coming to visit. He's been watching me from the fence, and I had my eye on him until I came into a forward fold. He's just taking a little drink out of the pool. Oh, don't fall. Oh, oh. Okay, I'm back. And now you might notice an iguana behind me sitting on that rock. It's very large. And yeah, enjoy the view. All right, so returning to our high plank. Okay, if your knees are on the floor, you can come back to a high plank position. lifting your knees up off the floor, and then press back to downward facing dog, where we were before. So take a breath in downward facing dog. And once again, walk your feet toward the front of your mat. As many steps as you need. Have your legs bent or straight. And come into a standing forward fold. Your next deep breath in. Come all the way up to tall mountain. Reach your arms up overhead. Maybe look up towards your fingertips. And then connect the palms of your hands and bring them to your heart. Take one more breath here in mountain pose with hands at heart center. All right, we're gonna do a couple of standing postures. Again, kind of familiar postures in a lot of yoga classes. Doesn't mean it's necessarily easy, but you will probably see these postures a lot, which is why I'm going to teach them in this beginner class so that we can learn the foundational principles for the postures. So the first posture we're going to do is Warrior Two with the right foot forward. So keep the right foot right where it is. Make sure that your heel is behind your toes, and then you're going to step your left leg way back on your mat. So you want a really long stance for Warrior Two. When you come into your lunge, you're gonna bend your right leg and make sure that your knee comes over your ankle. So this is an important cue, because if your stance is too short and you start to bend your leg, see how your knee kind of juts out over your toes? Okay. So you want to make sure that you have enough room in your stance so that you can bend your knee and it doesn't go past your ankle. So check back with your back foot. You want your left toes kind of slightly angling in. Press into the outer edge of your left foot. And then you're gonna take your arms and extend them straight out so that they're parallel with the ground. So look back towards your back arm, make sure it's not sagging down, and then eventually you want your gaze out over your front arm. Look down and make sure that your shoulders, to the best of your ability, are stacked over your hips. So it's not uncommon to naturally lean a little bit forward. So if you find that you're doing that, place your shoulders back over your hips. Another thing that's not uncommon is to hunch your shoulders up by your ears. We've been practicing this throughout our class. Roll your shoulders away from your ears. Take one more breath in Warrior Two. You might start to feel it in your legs, like good burning sensation. One last alignment cue. When you look down at your toes, make sure that you can see your big toe. Okay? It's not uncommon as we build strength in the glute and the hip that the right knee might be buckling in. Draw it out, and then straighten your right leg and step your left foot to meet your right at the front of your mat. Come back to mountain pose. So mountain pose, nice, strong, stable, grounded position. So we're not just standing at the front of our mat, very intentional. And we're gonna take Warrior Two on the other side. So keep your left foot where it is. Step your right leg way back on your mat. Nice long stance again. So we'll just go through those points of alignment, setting up the pose. So bend your left leg, left knee over left ankle. Adjust your stance as needed. Look down at your left big toe. Make sure that your knee isn't riding in. Okay, so it takes strength in your glute and your hip to draw it out. So that's something you might practice or work toward, but make sure that you're engaged there. Check in with your back foot. Right toes slightly angled in. If you have a really tight ankle and they're not angled in and they're just pointing straight to the edge of your mat, that's fine as well. Just press into the outer edge of your back foot. Okay, bring your arms parallel to the floor. Gaze out across your front fingertips. Check in with your back arm, make sure it's not sagging. Check in that your shoulders are over your hips. Okay, so you're not leaning forward. And then last but not least, check in that your shoulders aren't crawling up by your ears, so take a nice shoulder roll. And then gaze out across your front fingertips. Warrior 2. Strength building, challenging pose, but pretty familiar in most yoga classes. Okay, so go ahead and straighten your left leg, and you're gonna step your right foot to meet your left at the front of your mat. Give it a little bit of a shake, a little bit of a wiggle, and then find mountain pose again. Okay, the next posture we're gonna do, again, a pretty common pose, doesn't mean it's easy, is called triangle pose. So we're gonna take that same big step back, right foot stays where it is, big step back with your left foot, and pretty much as long of a stance as your warrior 2 was. Now in triangle pose, we keep the front leg straight this time, and we're going to reach the right arm forward, start to reach forward, and then you're gonna bring your right hand down. All right, so you can either set your hand on a block if you have a block. You can set your hand on your thigh or your shin, or maybe you reach your hand down toward the floor. If your hand reaches the floor, you don't wanna collapse your weight into your hand, all right? You wanna stay nice and strong in your torso and nice and long in your spine. If you have your hand resting on your leg, very little weight, okay? Because you don't wanna stress your knee joint. And then your other hand is going to reach up toward the ceiling. Okay, so your arms are going to be in line with one another eventually. So go ahead and take one more breath in triangle pose on your right side. Continuing to open up the left shoulder. And then let's bring both arms parallel to the floor and step your weight onto your right foot. Left foot meets right. Mountain pose. All right, so triangle on the left side. Keep your left foot where it is. Step your right foot way back behind you, like your warrior 2 stance. And this time we get to keep the left leg straight. And again, you're going to be reaching your left hand forward first, so you find some length in your side. And then release your hand down. So it could be on your thigh, your shin, a block, or reaching down toward the floor. Wherever it is, don't collapse your weight into your hand. Okay, you want to be using your core strength, staying nice and long and lifted in your torso and your spine. And then your right arm comes up toward the sky or the ceiling. And just hold your triangle pose on this side for another breath. Bring your arms parallel to the floor. You're gonna step your weight onto your left foot. Bring your right foot to meet your left. And come into mountain pose. All right, we're gonna do one more kind of standard standing pose. So step your left foot back again, big step back. And this is kind of like combining our last two poses. So this is called side angle pose. You're gonna bend your right leg like you did in Warrior 2. So same idea here, right knee over right ankle. You're gonna extend your arms parallel to the floor, And then like triangle pose, keeping your arms parallel to one another, you're gonna start reaching down toward the floor and up toward the ceiling. Okay. Now, lots of options here. Hand on a block. You can have your elbow on your knee. You can have your left arm reaching up. Or if you want to increase the stretch in your side, you can reach your arm forward. Wherever you are though, don't collapse your weight. Stay nice and strong and lifted so you're not collapsing into your shoulder or your block. All right, bring your arms parallel to the floor. Straighten your right leg, step forward on your mat. Mountain pose. And let's take that same pose on the other side. So side angle pose. Keep your left leg where it is, your left foot where it is. Step your right leg way back. Nice long stance. Bring your arms parallel to the floor. A nice deep bend into your left leg. And then you're gonna take your arms, keep them parallel. Reach your left arm down, right arm up. Okay. Take your hand either to your block, elbow to your knee, or you can just reach your fingertips toward the floor and your right arm up toward the ceiling. If you want to experiment with the stretch in your side, you can reach your right arm forward. Just an option. Bring your arms parallel to the floor. Straighten your left leg. Step your right foot to meet your left. And come into mountain pose. All right. The last pose we're gonna do in this class is a balance pose. It's called tree pose. Again, a very standard pose. Doesn't mean it's easy, but you will probably see this in a lot of classes that you attend in yoga. So we're gonna stand on the right foot to begin. You can take your left foot to the floor, your ankle, or your calf, or your inner thigh. Please avoid resting your foot where your knee is. Not very good for your joint. And then you can take your hands either, the wind is blowing me over, to your heart, or up toward the sky or the ceiling. If you reach your arms up, try to avoid hunching your shoulders by your ears. So relax your shoulders away from your ears. And then the key to all balancing postures, one of the keys to all balancing postures is focusing on a slow, steady breath and a nice, soft, steady gaze. So try to look at something that's unmoving, maybe on the floor out in front of you. Pick a particular spot to gaze at. And let's switch sides. So you can roll out your toes and your ankles, shake out your legs. And we're gonna take tree pose standing on our left leg now. So create a nice solid foundation with your left foot and then take your right foot either to your ankle at the floor, your calf, or your inner thigh. You can use your hand to assist you in getting your foot up there. Once again, just avoid your knee. Once you have the position for your legs, you can take your hands either to your heart or you can reach them up toward the ceiling. Steady breath, steady gaze. Hold it here for a couple more breaths. and release back to mountain pose. Again, shake, wiggle, whatever you need, and then we'll meet in mountain pose. Palms face forward, nice and active, strong in your legs, your core, shoulders relaxed away from your ears. On your next breath in, return to tall mountain, reach your arms up. Maybe look up, and then cactus your arms. Breathe in, tall mountain. And breathe out, return to a forward fold. So hinging from your hips, either hands through heart or reaching off to the side, come all the way down. It's okay if your legs aren't straight, just moving in that direction. One more breath in forward fold. All right, plant your hands on your mat. Step your feet back to high plank. We've already been here. Remember, high plank, either with knees lifted or knees on the floor, as long as you have a nice long spine. And this time we're going to go from this position to our bellies on the floor. So draw your elbows back toward the back of your mat and lower down using the strength in your arms as slow as you can. It takes time to build up that strength and have control in that movement. Keep your arms, your hands right where they are underneath your shoulders. We're going to do a couple postures to strengthen the muscles in the back. Okay, so the first one is called Cobra pose. Take the tops of your feet flat to the floor if they aren't already. Gaze down at your mat using the strength in your upper back. Peel your chest up off the floor. Feel the muscles in your back working to hold you here. Okay, so little weight is in your hands that you should be able to lift them up off the floor, maybe just for a second. And take another breath. And release. Take your ear to your mat and just rest your arms alongside your body. You can even close your eyes. Feel your heart beating. Feel your breath flowing in and out through your nose. And go ahead and bring your chin back to your mat. We're going to take one more pose here for spine strengthening. This time take your palms, flip them so they're facing down on your mat alongside your body. And take your feet to about hip distance apart. Gaze down at your mat. Now lift everything up off the floor. So start by peeling your chest up off the floor like we did in Cobra. Lift your arms up off the floor. And then if you can, you want to try, lift your feet up off the floor, your legs up off the floor. Take another breath here. Feel all the muscles in the back side of your body working to hold you in this position. And then release. Now take your opposite ear to your mat. Rest your arms alongside your body. Close your eyes and breathe in and out through your nose. Place your hands underneath your shoulders now and press back to child's pose. So we were here at the beginning of our class. It's a great counter pose for spine strengtheners. Knees wide, toes to touch, hips to heels. Rest your forehead down. Release from child's pose. So we're going to take one more seated stretch here before we lay down on our backs. So go ahead and bring your right leg off to an angle, out to the side, and bring your left foot towards your right inner thigh. So take your shoulders and face your right toes. You can start walking your hands toward your foot. Feel the stretch not only in the back of your right leg, but also in your low back. Take another breath here. And switch sides. So now take your left leg out to an angle. Take your right foot to your left inner thigh. Face your shoulders toward your toes. And start to walk your hands forward towards your foot. Feel the stretch in the back of your left leg. Feel the activity in the top of your leg. So keep your thigh engaged, your quadricep. Keep your toes pointing up. And release. Back to center. Take both feet out in front of you with your legs bent, knees pointing up. We're gonna lower slowly down onto our back using the muscles in our core. Okay, so this is a little bit of a core strengthener. It takes time to develop the strength and control, but working in that direction instead of just flopping down. Maybe for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lay all the way down. So press into the soles of your feet. Press into the palms of your hands, and then lift your hips up toward the ceiling, opening the front side of your body, building strength in the back side of your body, building flexibility in your spine. Take one more breath in bridge pose. And then exhale, lower down onto your back again. And typically, we like to close our yoga practice with a twist before Shavasana. So we're gonna take our knees into our chest, just a very loose squeeze, so not a tight squeeze, and then take both knees to the right. Rest your knees down on the floor, and then start to look to the left. Switch sides, so bring your knees through center and off to the left, and then look to the right. So just let your knees rest on the floor. You're not holding them up. If they don't reach the floor, that's fine. You can always put a block under your knees or adjust the tightness of your knees so that they can rest. It should feel like a gentle twist, not a forceful or difficult twist. So make any adjustments you need to. Come back to center. One last little squeeze. And our final posture that you will see in every single yoga class is called Shavasana in Sanskrit, which translates to corpse pose. So the goal of this posture is to come into a relaxed position lying on your back. Let your feet be nice and wide. Let your feet fall open. Arms rest alongside your body, palms face up, and fingers are nice and relaxed and loose. Gaze is straight up. And just check in with your body, starting from your toes all the way up to the crown of your head, releasing any tension or fidgets before we move into a state of release. So let's close today with one final breath, intentional breath. So breathe in through your nose. Out through your mouth, same way we began. And now you can just come back to the natural rhythm of your breath. Close your eyes. Let everything go. Be still and soft for these last few moments of your practice. So if you're enjoying your Shavasana, continue to lay on your mat for a little bit longer. I'm going to close now with the traditional yoga greeting. The word that we exchange in a yoga class is namaste, which means the light in me sees the light in you, loosely translated. So today, as you go forward, may you have peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart. From my heart to yours, namaste.